this is now your time to come back and reclaim it. We want to welcome you to the Legacy Forge, and we are ready to announce what we have been so due diligently working on in the background and why you have not seen me publicly for a very long time. We're honored and we're excited. So if you have not seen the posts or the blips or the notifications,
what you're hearing there is
this is your time now.
Cheanise. Cheanise is now currently letting her followers know that this is happening, and it's a pretty huge event that people don't really know the magnitude of. I'm sitting here right now with the direct peek into the stage that we are about to give you, and I can only say I've never been this excited for a live stream before, and everything has just happened in a way that I could not really explain. So this, in how TTX works, is going to be amazing, has already been. I cannot wait to see what magic we're going to create. And without further ado, I will introduce to you a person that will set a mark in your permanent record, giving you Cheanise. Bidulock. Welcome! Finally, about time they see you! Oh, hold on. There we go. Now they can hear you as well. They heard your invitation on your live, so they have a little bit of your flow.
Awesome. Well, we have been a little snug bug in a rug trying to get things ready to rock and rumble, and the trying has now made its presence today. So we cannot thank everybody enough on being here today, and if you're rewatching this, thank you for being a part of this next journey.
It's going to be epic, that's to say the least.
Right.
We have. Do you want to share some of the work we have been doing? Because we have one thing that kind of set the tone for everything that follows, and it's basically finding who we are and really knowing who we are, what we're here to do, and how we're going to do it. What do you want to say?
Yeah. I want to say thank you for giving a sacred space and a platform that we have been collaborating together as a team and as a collective to really honor again where everybody's stories have come and fallen off the beaten path, and to anchor in a sacredness that you have choices again. And I think it's important that when people have that platform to launch off of in a safe way, that is why we've been working so due diligently and, helping each other out to make sure that we understand why we are here for the bigger purpose, and really sitting with all of our connections across the web to see what it is that we have been missing or fearing or lacking in our self essences, or placement of businesses or family, and our own feeding on our own grounds at homes, wherever you are, and just to stop thinking it's impossible. And not saying that we're always going to be our superhero state. We have a human experience to live, and not to get wrapped up in the cobwebs of our illusions, our fears, our malice to our own selves, or the injustice we keep choking ourselves with because somebody else didn't do the job. So we as a team have connected across the world to start bringing everybody home. And that is something so special to me that you'll understand why as we go through this journey forward. But today is the spark. Today is the spark of the Legacy Forge. And many of you might see different themes if you are coming from Cheanise's niches or from the other practitioners and our forgers that are on part of this teams, maybe some different colors and themes and tones, and it might not make your stomach feel very good right now, but that's okay, because this is where we're showing you that we all have been playing a game. We've all been playing some sort of fairy tale, whimsical state of wishing upon a star for the miracle, when you forgot to turn around and observe who you and what you are, to know that you've been the star the whole time. Now, it's not to give you a pat on the head as a mommy and daddy, good job validation. This was what you have been destined from the stars to bring down and to come with a true voice, true sight, and true love when you speak forward, because your heart has been there. You were born in here with the purity of trust and growth and expansion to be love, but we need to come back to this now whole frequency you'll hear us talk about a lot, is the frequency of authenticity again. Yes, we want to love and we want to help and we want to do, but this is now a place where we have to become authentic again. And do we have all the answers? That's not the point of us being here for you all today. The point of us is to honor that we have hands that we can allow to hold some space, but also some, let's go get it. Let's do this, and honor why that's going to be very important moving forward in this propulsion that we are working towards in this next generation and time of people. This is a generation that we are asked to be doing something, and this is where we want to bring to you what is the actual legacy forge. So, Tor, the actual man on the,
On the mountain.
anvil. Yeah, man on the mountain. Can we hear a bit about it? Because I know we're bringing a lot of waters together in a very safe container, and we want to share a bit about what is the Legacy Forge, and we will do a little duo after this. So
Yeah, it's interesting because it's when you're connecting so many different campfires around the world where people have been coming from their own experiences, cultures, norms, and societal templates, basically. We all have different ways of looking at life. And the beauty that I see in the Legacy Forge is that we come together with one vision. Like it's the same mountain, different paths, but we're walking the paths. The only people that we don't really vibe with are the people that run around the mountain telling other people it's not possible. Because everyone has a path, and we're just trying to show them the best way to start that path, having fun. And then just point out the obvious pitfalls that we went into when we were walking that same path. It's so much, it's so hard to explain really what the Legacy Forge is, but once we figure it out who we are, really to the core, the why, if you just Google why, I think you're going to find a whole bunch of interesting articles and resources as to what is the power of it. Because if you have a strong enough why, you can do anything. Nothing is going to stop you. And we have proof, like documented, almost unbelievable footage on tape that just shows a completely different state of reality when you go into this. And honestly, we're not even like, oftentimes I get surprised of what I'm saying because I'm just on this thing. I'm channeling something that just is more than myself. And that is something that has fascinated me for a long time. And I believe that people should just understand that we as humans are able to do these things and everyone can. So our job is then just to share that through tales of transformation and inspire people and give them a little insight into the world that could be if they want. So with all that said, damn, that was a sound that I hadn't prepared for. With all that said, we have been working on a manifesto, a creed of values, something of a guiding star, us to just live by. Because a lot of companies will come into a company, create something of a movement or whatever it is, and they will put words that kind of symbolizes what they want to be perceived as. The beauty of this is that we all are reading this feeling like, yes, that is me. So I'm going to read this now from a in approval state. And I know that it's going to just be perfect because it's literally as if I wrote it myself, because it's just like-minded people seeing the exact same goal. And the future gets blindingly epic when it's a tribe of people like that. So I'm going to start off. We are legacy forgers. In a world where conformity is commonplace, we are the outliers, the seekers, the ones who dare to dream beyond boundaries. We are the legacy forgers, and we stand for true connection.
Our purpose is freedom. We believe that the life is meant to be a journey of liberation, a canvas for our creativity, a stage of our authenticity. We reject the mundane and embrace the extraordinary, for we are here to experience the full spectrum of human existence.
We are the seekers of the truth. We question, we explore, and seek truth in all aspects of life. We unveil the mysteries of existence, unraveling the threads of reality to discover the profound truth that lie beneath.
We honor the frequency of belief. We understand that belief is the catalyst of change. We harness the energy of our convictions to shape our reality. We are the architects of our destiny, and for the belief that precedes the action and the action that breeds transformation.
I'm getting all chills. And our blueprint is SLS. We live by SLS, our unique philosophy. A blueprint for living authentically and connected to our untapped. This is still under approval. Connected to our untapped potential. We honor our uniqueness and the uniqueness of others, fostering a world where diversity thrives and unity emerges.
We forge strong communities and connections. We recognize the power of collective consciousness. We come together as a tribe, where our hearts and minds unite to share a purpose. We celebrate each other's victories and lift one another through the challenges, for we are stronger together as allies.
We practice holistic development. We believe in holistic development, nurturing mind, body, and spirit through the natural elements. We cultivate resilience, empathy, and compassion, embracing the interconnectedness of all life. Our path is one of personal and global transformation.
We choose love over fear. We are warriors with our weapons sheathed. We choose love, guidance, and support over violence. We do not harm, but do not take injustice lightly. Our path is to illuminate through the lens of love.
We guide the journey of legacy forgers. We honor the unique journey of each legacy forger. Whether you're a beginner embarking on a path of self-discovery, a creator creating a life of impact, or an advanced soul mastering the art of existence, we stand by your side as fellow travelers.
We are here for a collective ascension. We are creating a safe and sacred collective so that we are the vibration of higher and across time and space. We forge the legacies to transcend generations, elevating the human experience and propelling the planet forward with an ascension.
And gratitude is our guide. Gratitude is the guiding force on our extraordinary path, enriching every moment and connection as legacy forgers. It fuels our mission to elevate humanity, united by thankfulness for the profound truths and love that light our way. It's something special to read those things when it just comes from your soul. And for some people, I know, because I have experience in these things, there are many different perspectives to be had on a text like this. But when you hear it, you feel it, because it's that of a movement and an ideal world that just rings true for everyone. Nobody wants violence, and you can be grateful for everything. And just feeling better at the higher frequency, you're going to attract more of the same. And we're not going to go into all that because that's what this is for. We're going to show you. We're not going to tell you anything. So the reason I'm looking forward to this is because it is the massive launch of something that has already taken the world by storm. And with this, I feel like we have started the official unveiling of what we really set out to create. And Cheanise's story, the tale of transformation that is set for today, is something that I have been looking forward to for a long time. I've actually, when she's gone into the story, I've been like, don't share spoilers almost, because I think by hearing this, I'm gonna leave this event changed, and I look forward to that.
Thank you, Tor.
Thank you.
The place that has gotten me here, it's a bit of a roller coaster. And I do say that I haven't fully shared my stories out on many platforms or places. Um, if you have done readings for me or have been in a sacred space for me to help grow, you might have heard me babbling. But when you're in those stages of so much pain, fear, panic, and injustice, you become this echoing radio with static and frequency and all these songs coming out at once, and you don't know what you're trying to say, but you're trying to say something. People have for years said, Cheanise, you speak in riddles. My father is the number one advocate for that. But you'll see as we talk about why you experience something, good, bad, or ugly. There's no right or wrong in this world. To label an experience, you have to experience to then create so much more forward expansion, because without that, you are just in a space of that seed. And that is why we are growing roots. And so my roots come from as a redneck, rural Albertan farmer that was the firstborn of a family that I feel that was destined to do and bring so much more. And being the oldest, for any of us oldest out there, I don't like to archetype a lot of us, but you find something in your soul that you're here to trailblaze and you're here to want to do so much more. And I just felt like I was ready, born out of the womb with a battle and a mission. I was an emergency C-section on the snowiest day of April, born on Good Friday, and I actually died at birth. And so my dad and mom were both in the room, and mom had to get shipped off for her emergency C-section, and mom went blacked out. And then my dad didn't know after that point if he was going to have a wife or a baby coming out of the operation room. And so I did code and I did pass. And a little bit of a prelude to this, I didn't fall off no gypsy wagon. I didn't go and seek the Kool-Aid groups and things like that to figure out my life stories. I grew up very analytical and straight to the point, and was just connected to the land. So when I say this part about when I passed, I can literally verbatim go back and I met the essence of source, of God, creator, whatever you believe in. And when I came there, I said, I can't do it anymore. This was at 9 months as a fetus. And it said, why? And I said, this family's not ready for me to be here. It's going to be so much work to get here and get through this. And they said, you chose your path. So you can choose to end it now, but you then have 10 times more the karma or the work to go back and do this. And I was like, damn, Daniel, don't be laying that thick on me and telling me that there's more work than this. Like, I literally saw what was going on in the existence. And I will tell you all that my mom and dad were the most loving human beings that a soul was ready to enter. Was it easy for them at that point? Hell no. There's so much to this story, but those were two parents that me, analytical soul, thought that this was ready to rock and rumble in. And when I saw where I was born, who were my family and exterior families, and the house that we were going to be in, it was so much work to do. So after that, I came back and I said, okay, but will this all make sense if I go back? And they were like, no, until you actually understand to just enjoy it and process it. And then whoop, back, and I was breathing, crying, and back into the function of it, and bright lights. Like when I go back into either meditations or experiences, it's bright lights and I'm just wailing. So many years later, I will explain how I found out about my birth story. But that was the start once I did some research to figure out why was my starting point in this life so crucial. And I ask people when I share space with them, um, what's your birth story? Do you know anything about how your mom and dad met? What are some of the experiences you had as a childhood? Because those are catalyst moments that really tell us about what did you endure. So then that way you might be still stuck in the fear. I was 25 years old and I took my very first breath because for my birthday, I went to a breath practitioner and she facilitated me through my actual life breath. And that life breath was when I literally re-downloaded my whole entire body system. And I blacked out. I went. And I never done breath before. I never went through any of those processes that way. And that was my metamorphosis of seeing, holy shit, there's more to this story than I can even fathom. And she said I was muttering a bunch of things and my body choking, coughing when I was already gone. And when I came back, I just actually, I can feel my breath. Because when I was after being born into this world, I was full of mucus in my lungs because I took in fluids. When I was being born, I was black and blue and premature, but I was a 9-pound baby. So it was just like all of these things that body was sometimes not ready to endure. And that's why you'll see people who have had C-sections or actual regular births, but with complications or a cord wrapped around their neck, they always feel restricted in their throat.
Wow.
So until we heal that, you won't be able to talk. You won't be able to actually function because you're still feeling you're going to get hung for what you said. So
Wow.
then that leads me into all of these years after of just being a wild child with the land. We grew up raising elk and cattle and had horses, and I just loved being outside. I was my dad's right-hand man. And my family sometimes still to this day says I should have been born a boy. And I said no, because my brother and I would have probably killed each other. And we laugh now, but in the thick of it, you guys, there was nothing of laughter. There was nothing past the point when in the early 2000s, there was diseases that happened in like in a global nationwide of BSE and CWD. They're prion brain misfolding proteins that make the animals not healthy and sick. And that happened in the nations. So in Canada and US, and the world shut down the beef markets, the elk markets. Then we also had a massive drought that all the grasshoppers came and ate all of our pastures. So not only was it our family farm that got hit first with shutting down of borders, we didn't get the diseases, but the whole world shut us down in our industries. It went from, and I'll give you, we're from Canada. So our product that we would sell from the elk, the velvet, is harvested every year, not an issue. It's like clipping a nail for them. So they regrow. It's the fastest regrowing tissue ever known to mankind is elk velvet antler. So that would be sold to the Asian markets because it's so good for medicinal values. So testosterones, your hormone balancing, your amino acids, your omegas, all of this stuff. And each section of the antler actually had very high properties that would be sold for thousands of dollars. So our velvet, we would sell for $110 a pound. Then, as soon as the borders crashed, it was worth $4, if that, per pound.
Wow.
So after that, that was my mom and dad's farm that were struggling. Then my grandparents, because we were a huge 1,000 head commercial cattle operation. And then that started to shut down because all the beef plants and markets couldn't get this beef out of it. So imagine that your toilet got plugged and all this shit is backfilling now. So we're all trying to clean this mess up and we don't know how. We go to the government, and I've been a part of boards and organizations for years, and you're sitting there and they're telling you diversify, diversify, make things happen, you can do it, farmers. And it was just like, it was exciting times being a farmer because it was hard work, but it was still a passion and you were doing something with it. And after that tour and the world, it was like farmers became septic. After that, they just started hating each other. Yes, you would be pissed off at a few farmers for some things, but I felt after that point in our country, in our society, everything changed for the human beings as farmers, because they just had to do farmers markets. There was laws that you couldn't sell your meat off of your farm. Like, there's so much that we see now happening on our Facebooks and social medias that literally, you guys, under 10 years ago, this was illegal. This was forbidden. This was not able to happen because somehow we allowed these laws and experiences to just get stuck. And nobody really thought of it because we can just swipe a card and push a full cart of groceries down the aisle for $150. I remember my mom spending that, and it was 2 heaping carts worth of groceries. So then our family, the triangle, was shot. My grandfather was the only one that had an out of town job as the county agricultural fieldman. And my grandma, my dad, and my mom were all on farm based incomes and experiences. So my mom did start working for a financial branch. Um, and so it was just little things like that. But I was 9 years old. I had my royal birthday. And after that, April, everything changed. That October at Halloween,
Wow.
we went through our very first pet food. Ugh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, we went for our very first trade show
Mm.
to go and start selling raw pet food. And in that raw pet food was, back in the day, a stigma called the barf diet. Our area would call, like our nation would call it the barf diet, because our pets eat kibbles and bits and iams and all of these processed hydrated kibble products, and nobody really talked about it being meat, bones, carcasses, organs, things like that. And so everybody was just like, oh my God, that's so disgusting. So my parents scrounged up enough money to buy us kids some costumes, because we literally had to go and do this trade show on Halloween. And Halloween was always something very special with us. And I'm old enough to know that shit isn't good at home. And so I had to wrangle in my siblings and say, we're going to have fun and it's going to be good. And there was a face painter at this pet trade show. And I asked Mom, is there any way we can have our faces painted? And so we did. And it was like barely any money. We've sold some product, and that's how Mom paid for our face paintings. And we literally have that picture. I wish I had that today.
Mm.
And then it was just the way to make do with that experience. And we then, after that, vowed as a family to sit there and literally work together as a team in the meat shop. And I'll never forget the day we opened up the door to our meat shop on a small town main street meat shop that was kind of run down, but it was what we could afford. And I grabbed my siblings, and there was some butcher paper, and I'd stamp the different cuts of meat, and we would pretend we're selling Mom and Dad it, and we thought that that's what it was going to be like, and it was not at all. And so that's where I just said, to my siblings, like, we have to be good kids. We'll be okay. Like, it won't take long. And I remember talking to my dad, and I said, Dad, can you promise me we won't kill all of our elk? Because it's so important that we keep the elk healthy, and we just do this until we can help other people, get away from this. And he said, I promise you, we will do what we wanted to do with the elk farm back in the day, and that was to own a hunting lodge. And so with that, it just came working hard, and we were excited, and we made everything by hands. Us five worked in doing this. And before the meat shop, even during the meat shop, we would be custom fencing. We would be coming home from school, or mom and dad would pick us up with pizza to just kind of coax us that tonight's going to be a long night. And so pizza was just a trigger for me to just be like, oh, honey, I brought home pizza. There was like years I would not eat pizza. And then it would just come into these layers that you'd go to farmers, they're depressed, they're sad. Like, there's animals that, some people have just shot and put them in pits. And I'm sorry if this is graphic for people, but that's like what we were seeing as little kids, and butcher animals all the time. And with that, it really gave me and us siblings a value for understanding life and death. We knew how you were created, how a world functions, and when it's time to die. And so that really struck me, because when that was all going on, that also was the time that my mom's parents also got sick and they passed away at an early age. And then I had, from years after that, a lot of abuse was always there, but not in the severity that it got to. And when you see people exhausted and a human being not in a space that they can feel safe, and just doing monotonous and mundane spacing of fearing and just getting by, the survival a human being gets into is animalistic.
Yeah.
So that is where my parents just fell apart. People that could have been, should have been in love for now, just literally imploded. And that caused so much chaos for us siblings, because then I felt we didn't have parents that were stable and safe. So then I started taking on a parenting role. So it literally took me probably 20 years to crack me saying that this is the kids. And they're like, okay, but aren't you a kid? And I said, yeah, but they're younger than me. So they're the kids, I'm the adult.
How old were you?
And I was, so my siblings are 3 and 4 years younger than me.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like 14 or so, and we were somewhere in the city. And a lady comes to me and says, your children are so beautiful. You should be a proud mom.
I just
And
got
that,
chills
like, I'll
now.
never forget that, because it's just like, I was like, yeah, thank you, like, whatever. And Rochelle was like, ugh, that's my sister. And Ral was just this like pudgy cheeked, buzz cut kid. And yeah, I just like didn't realize that that's how much energy I was putting out to complete strangers, that that's who I was to these kids.
Yeah.
Right. And we were siblings, we were a unit, we were a family, but I created such a diversity between us, because then that way it would be safer for them to be safe, because then my parents would see them as kids and put the hurt and the blame and the beatings on me. And then it got into a point that my dad would wake up and be like, so who's the problem today? And we grew up in 900 square feet. So I have slept in the same bedroom with my siblings since every day they were born into this world. We connected and stayed in that. Our house was tiny, and you couldn't escape. It was like literally living in a mouse kind of maze. And I just remember it was such a roller coaster to go from having such great memories and moments, and then as soon as something would trigger or not be safe or healthy for somebody's insecurities or struggles or manipulations, it would snap, and then it was like the gates closed and then shit hit the fan. So it was like an escape room. Who was going to defuse the bomb before it gotten too bad? Or do we just bunker down behind the bed and let everything just implode? And I mean, our small kitchen table, it had been refixed in its bottom foundation with glue and metal clothes wires because it's been flipped. We've had syrups, we've had plates, we've had everything you can think of go down in this house, and then go back at school and start another day again. So school became our safe zones. And I will never, ever in my life not thank anybody as a bus driver, as a teacher's aide, most teachers, but some teachers just like more than others. I know what you guys see every day because there's so many families that it wasn't just maybe sometimes us. We were a pretty severe unit in our area. And the ironic part is that when you grow up in a very small town, 9 times out of 10, either your teachers or business people or anybody around you either went to school with your grandparents, taught your parents, taught your grandparents, and then taught your dad and retired and was the substitute to your class. So you'd hear all these stories. You knew everything about your parents. You knew everything about this. Mom was a city girl that dreamt about marrying a farmer, and she always said that it just turned into her worst nightmare because it wasn't what she expected the fairy tale to look like.
Yeah.
And so at that point, there was a lot of hands tied because my grandfather was prominent in the county of Two Hills. Our family was very well known in the area, good or bad, well known. It's the choice of that. And it was so much pressure to be good. And so we had to have honors. For grade 3, I didn't have any honors. And I got a C that year. And I remember all of my friends up there, and I felt like a failure because I couldn't read and spell very well. And so you'll see in my posts, you'll see in sometimes the way that I speak, you're going to see things that I'm either dyslexic or don't spell right. And it literally comes down to when you're in so much trauma at that stage, your brain goes quick.
Yeah.
So many people come to me and say, Cheanise, like I have this brain issue and I can't do this. And I said, because you're just not feeling safe. You don't feel okay to maybe say or speak or write or do something. And so when we work through our bodies that way, that's when we start to release these trigger points. And that is where I look at people like horses. Because if you can give them a safe round pen and container to go through and buck and fart and snort and get out all the things that are making them feel unsafe, and working with that in a hand-in-hand relationship, it makes it a very different experience. But as all those years continued, we had child social services come into our family 3 times. On the last time, it was so severe that a month before my graduation, my dad almost killed me. And it's a very deep story, and you'll be able to read more of that in my book. But that is where I thought I would never walk on this planet again, because I was willing to do something for another family that just found out their mom had stage 4 cancer. And I came back, and that my dad just asked if I was on drugs. And that was what we were drilled into our head, that drugs were bad and your mom was a slut because she smoked weed. And there was all this like connotation because my dad never did any of that. So my parents weren't big into partying. Like we had connections with neighbors kind of in the earlier years, but not after because we were so busy. And that was just not a part of our itinerary. The Dare to Dare or Dare to Care program was a drug program. The police department and other people that were addicted put together, and that was a big movement in our area. So drugs was not a thing. We had a class that was full of, we called them skids, who smoked weed or, you know, smoked cigarettes, and then later on it was cocaine and then meth for them way later on in our area. But it wasn't prominent like these kids are dealing with now,
Yeah.
that grade niners are struggling with cocaine and addictions now. But that was when I just said, are you kidding me? We can't have compassion for something that's so severe right now in another family? And that's the question you're going to ask me? Because I've never done that. I've never done drugs. I never wanted drugs because I already lived enough of a bad trip my entire fucking life.
Mm.
So I said, I can't believe that that's what you would put on me. And it snapped. And the rest you'll read in the book. But it's an understanding when a human is so sad in their soul that they can't have what you have, that they will do anything to break you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that was my parents. And that was something that caused me to ask why. So I left home, went to college. I would get phone calls of my family screaming in our old walkie-talkie Motorola phones and voice memos and messages that would just like send chills down your spine, because I was now the oldest, leaving the family unit that we all literally lived by to have products made, because if we weren't doing the work, nobody else. So then we had to figure out, there wasn't a whole lot of workforce in our small town and areas. And so me leaving just put a whole other person's job onto the siblings and family. And that's when I was gallivanting and living my best life. And how dare you? And my dad, we didn't have any money saved for colleges or fundings for school, which I don't disagree on, because a child should have an ability to learn how to get themselves through those things. But you know, I'd ask, you know, mom and dad, you know, is there any way you can send $100 this month or like anything? And remember, guys, we didn't take wages off the farm. We didn't have money set or my own debit card or, you know, an allowance. There was none of that. Literally, what I walked off of, and I had my first, from my graduation party and my birthdays, all the money I could save was my first way I paid tuition
Wow.
for my schooling. And so then after that, that's when I just realized that, you know, can I just, is there any way you can help out this month? And so mom would try and figure out like if she can send $50 or some other amount that she could. And my dad got wind of it because mom would always deal with the money side of things. And he came, brought my two siblings to my college campus in our envoy, and like literally ripped into this parking lot, slams the brakes, comes out, it's dark, and their dad's coming out. And all of a sudden I see the other side doors open and there's my brother and sister. And this is like at 10 o'clock at night. And they're little still. And he's like, here, you tell the kids that you're taking away our family boat fund. And this has been going on for years because my dad had to sell his boat, his pride and possession fishing boat, when we were going through the whole devastation in the early 2000s. Like my dad and fishing was it. He works his, and that's the thing with my dad, he worked his ass off. My mom worked her ass off to do anything. And I'll explain more of the story after of why this has been so suffocated in their relationship. But he comes out and there's my sister and brother bawling their eyes out. And they're like, here, you take this money away from them because you're taking away what we're working so hard for, because you need to be educated. And I lost it. I just said, like, you asked us to be educated. You said that that is what you wanted us to do because you didn't want us being like you, that was already pre-approved of being a vet with a 98 scoring average for your degree, that you didn't get the chance to go. And this is what you're bringing to me. And that was my first year of college. And I just said, like, I don't know what to do at this point. And then they get in the vehicle, and I can only imagine the conversations and the things that had been going on to get there, to going after. And it took me years to have a relationship with my siblings because there was so much propaganda of Cheanise is living her best life and she doesn't care about us. And, you know, Cheanise is doing her thing now, and Cheanise is just greedy, and Cheanise is just this. And it was always these connotations because I was doing something that wasn't normal to the old way of life. And when that came forward, it really showed me how much your pre-existing programming can absolutely fall apart into what you will make decisions as an adult. And so after that, I made choices to make money and thrive in any way I could. So my first year working in the oil patch, I made $40,000 in 3 months cash. And I went, and I never had a problem with anything. Went and bought my siblings school supplies and gave money that I can. And it was crazy to see that this is where, holy cow, I now can make something different. So then I would start buying animals, and I'd start buying, you know, putting money in towards land and equipment, and, you know, showing up saying that I've done it. And then dad just lapped that in. But then my sisters and brother couldn't give a shit. They thought it was so disgusting. And so there was just all this controversy that was going on in the family. And so that's when I went into this career of oil patching. And the oil patch literally drove me into the ground. But that is also where I learned so much about true leadership, how to work on choices that I would make in my values. And I met a medicine woman, and that is where I started more of my spiritual journey, because she looked at me and she said, "You are so gifted." And so, with all that going on in that beginning creation story, I want to give you that context of it, because now when you hear me say things in this journey now on these containers of holding space or hearing your experiences or doing things like this, you have some pre-understanding that it took me years to finally feel safe and not lock the door and double check it and wonder if my dad's going to come and get me or not. And am I going to have enough money, because I have to have money, and all the panic behind a money story. About love and a relationship. I didn't want to be with somebody because I was so scared they would just find out what hell I was living through, and how would I choose my family or love. And so all these different contexts come into what I do now, because I talk about your four walls. I talk about how do you want to actually communicate relationships? How do you get from rock bottom to where you can actually understand and stand your feet up now? And so I started Cheanise's Niches in 2015. And that is where I understood that I needed to make money, because I lost my oil field contract because I wouldn't marry the guy that I was working for. And that was not anything I was working towards. And there's a whole level of the oil patch story that I'll save for another day. And so when I started Cheanise's Niches, it was literally out of fear and I need to do something. And I guess this is tools I have in my toolkit right now to do what I can. Because I was so burnt out, I didn't want to do anything physically. I couldn't imagine anything in a manly world. And I walked into a flower shop and I asked, "Can I start working for you?" And I would work 16-hour days in a flower shop. And she was like, "I can't believe you have stamina for this." And I said, "Well, I'd usually be up at 4 o'clock in the morning and then either working or go out partying or do something for myself." and then started all over again back in that layer of life. So I said, this is easy. Like, I've never worked so less in my life than this moment. And it was the girliest job I've ever had in my entire existence. So it then anchored in something different. I cooked and I made flowers and arrangements, and oil patch guys would come in and I said, oh, looks like you're in the doghouse look today. And he'd be like, yeah. And so it was just like fun connections and stories that blossomed out of that. And that is where I met the woman who changed my life analytically to be into the spiritually side of it, because I've been a part of those spiritual connections my entire life. But this lady was Leanne Wolf, and she does human map design. And she sat there and she said, this is where you have a manual for yourself. And so I explain it as, this is your Chevy manual. It's in your glove box, and that you can literally know everything about how you make decisions and choices and experiences and how you function. So I saved up a bit of money, went to go have a reading with her, blabbed 2.5 hours like this out to her. And it was like 20 minutes left of the reading, and she looked at me and she's like, are you fucking done yet? And I was like, pardon me? Like, what? And she says, your dad doesn't control your life anymore. And you sit here with a ghost and a clown around you and thinking you're going batshit crazy, when you actually have all the things you need to do. You just need to change it and make it believe that you can do it. And I said, okay, but I'm not done the rest of my story. And she's like, wow, you don't get it. And she's like, you can take these next 20 minutes to actually listen to what I have to say, or you can waste it for the rest of your story. Your choice. And I still have that recording to this day.
Of course.
And I said, okay. And she says, all you need to do is understand you can make choices and not have to be stuck in these old patterns and loops anymore, but you have to break it. And then that was it. The reading was over. And I just like, holy shit. So sometimes you won't have readings or experiences or retreats or whatever you talk about the way that you think you need it, because somebody with the third eye view of what you've went through can see things when it's quicksand and when you're just stuck in a rut. And that is when I just then exploded into doing my first trade show, and I was sold out. And it was literally on the cusp of half of the industry in the area was writing books, taking a hiatus, traveling, moving, doing something. So I literally came up the ranking in seconds. And that's where I understood, okay, this was asked for me to be here. And things kept working. I've had sold out shows to 2 people show up. And I realized that you cannot take one over the other, because you need balance. Because those 2 people that I've had were so impacted in that change because they had a space to actually do something for themselves, and they thought that they would be canceled because I was too big or too, you didn't meet my quota. So this is where the Legacy Forge literally has been worked and churned and tilled to make a landing, so that we can have a healthy balance of the things that we want to offer next to you all. And I know that this is just a segment of the story, and that's the point of it, because I can go on for years about it. But I hope this gives you enough context to start realizing that this is where we're not pulling your leg when we say we can help, guide, but it's your choice if you want to move forward. And so that is where we're not promising you these retreats. We're not promising you a quick fix help program and save your life and follow us for the next 50 years. We're telling you that this is a space that where you can hear stories exactly like I have shared, and many more before me and after me will share for free. It's a platform to connect the fire to help you understand that you're not alone, you're not batshit crazy, you're not going to make it out of this. These are things that it's helping you actually anchor. So I want you all to take a nice deep breath with me, because I know I impact a lot of space all the time. And exhale out. And close your eyes. And I want you to hear what is the actual next step from Cheanise's niches. And this is where the Legacy Forge is creating the space of it. We are moving out of a space of sacrifices and fears and injustice. Deep breath in and out. We are welcoming in the purest state of love and frequencies that we know how. Deep breath in. And with this platform, we are hoping you understand that you have the tools also and a spark that is ready to ignite so much more than what you think you're just stewing or protecting or hiding from. Deep breath in. And so we give breath back to that spark. For all of you that are connecting and being a part of this next journey, we're not asking or begging or pleading for your next movement. If you are feeling called to what we have been forging for so long with the collective that we are building together, with rites of passage to exchange the wisdom that is being asked of us to share and not withhold, and to remove the stigma that you are not enough if you don't have a certificate and a course and an ideal and an identity and a business and money. Deep breath in. We offer you the chance and breath of life again. And yes, there are things that will cost money. Yes, there are things that will be free. And yes, there's going to be different experiences online and in person. And that's going to be your duty to see if that is what's being calling to you. And we will continue making the space and a way of raising frequencies to the highest good. Inhale and exhale out. Welcome to groundedness. Welcome to landing where you are meant to be. This is a space that you can open your eyes and see maybe the world a bit different now, not knowing you're in fear, and that we know we are still humans on this platform. And that is why we will do our best to continue raising the frequencies that are being channeled for the highest good. There is no right or wrong. There might be stories you do not connect with, and there's stories that you might be so impacted you will be ready to run for president in your places.
Literally.
But please know that this is where we are doing work to make collective changes. And we are literally sitting in the manifestation of when you actually claim destiny. We actually now own, me and my beautiful partner, Brody, where we met in college in those dark days, a home here in Alberta, north of Hinton, in a remote wilderness location. It is a healing sanctuary and a space to have weddings, have family gatherings. A lot of people said, are you going to be just a healing lodge? And I said, it is a healing lodge because it's a home for people to experience. And yes, things cost money, but it's for an exchange that we can build more locations maybe near you all. Tor has a vision and another destiny that's being called, and we want to work together to help these platforms collectively grow so you can have these experiences, that you don't have to just sit here watching us on this live. We're honored that you are, but we don't need it to be just sitting anymore. We need action. So this is a call to action of your messages and your motions forward, that we are building the network of tools so that you can start doing the work also. You're not alone. Please stop making excuses. We will hear your story, but write it out. Do mind mapping. Understand your personalities. Go get some sort of ideas, human map designs that we'll be offering here, other practices so that you can say that this is real. Because today is the full moon. It is the full moon that allows us to understand that your intentions are going to be heard and your prayers are answered. A lot of people just didn't really understand why we said that. We ain't playing God. We are here as gatekeepers and an act of service. And we are doing it the best we know how, with the purest state of love and awareness that we can offer every time we keep doing this work and this climb. So please understand that we thank you so much for taking these times and these spaces. And we will send you emails of how to be connected with us next, because it's then going to be different hubs that we can create. And Cheanise's Niches is no longer called that. And today I'm going to announce to the Legacy Forge that it is now called Niche Nation. It's not something I own. It is a place where a nation can actually grow with their niches, and that I am the custodian. I'm not here to clean your shit up. I am here to give people the responsibilities to take actions, and I will have a beautiful basket full of tools that we can work together to help that responsibility be reclaimed, for your power is yours again.
That was beautiful. That was. I
So
think
thank you, everyone.
I'm not speaking for myself when I say that that was amazing.
Mm.
I didn't lie when I said that I was going to leave this as a changed man, because I already feel like I have so many new things that are trying to work itself into my neural connections, basically. This is the beauty of the whole tribe experience. Me and I think many of the people here is gonna just need a few days to really come to grips with what actually was shared. Because, wow. We are trying to just make this as simple as possible, as enjoyable as possible. And with the vast amount of experiences and magic of the people in the forge, every legacy forger just contributing to the flame of the one movement towards a better future for our kids and just raising the frequency. Everything is possible. That's where it gets crazy, because we are going to share things for free that is going to shift realities simply because it comes from that pure intention, with step by step advice or just a passing sentence in a tale of transformation, whatever it is, one thing that just sets you off to experience reality as something completely different if you feel trapped as of this moment. Because it's, as I said, I'm still trying to just come to grips with that this is actually possible. We have created something in such a short time that just came out of nothing. And we are in for a ride that is going to impact not just my kids, but kids all over the place, and generations and people in tribes. And it's important work. It actually makes me want to cry when we're talking about it. So we have something that I stand proud beside my fellow legacy forgers and frequency elevators. Love that niche nation, and everything is just movements and movements and movements. Yeah.
It's interesting because I remember I didn't have money to go to these readings or things, or where to go in some of these cases. And I remember that I just prayed. I said, Cheanise, please just be an adult, that if there's another kid like you out there, they will find you and they will have the abilities to know that they are not alone. And I vowed. I have that written in an old journal. And I am proud to finally say that I've been able to create a home, a space, and actual words that aren't going to make you think that this is just everybody's a beast and a horrible person. That it literally justifies your destiny. It's just sometimes it's grinding and pounding and forging you to have the strength and then quenching you so that you don't have to stand up and break as soon as you have to unsheath your weapon when there's an actual purpose and a fight that you need to do. And your weapon might be just your hand saying, no, thank you, or I pray for you, or I see you. Because weapons don't have to be nasty and gnarly and hurtful.
No, it can be, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of things to share with the world, and I look forward to the ride.
So, thanks again, everybody, for joining. And Tor, thank you for having a vision, a fellow projector. It's amazing to have this balancing of masculine and feminine to just unite everybody. I work with a lot of men, women, and children, and my partner Brody always says, so what's your avatar? What's your client? And I said, everybody. And he's like, bullshit, what are we working with? And I said, everybody. Because I work with your inner child. I work with your past lives. I work with your connecting askings in the land. I am here to be the steward, like I said, the custodian of what needs to be reclaimed. So my education wasn't all for nothing, and I did find love out of it. So I guess that was worth the bonus of it all.
Yeah, it's from the hardest climbs you find the most beautiful views. I love you guys, for real.
And we all have these incredible gifts, and we all have our own unique frequency that we're going to share and is needed. And we're all just going to foster and help each other to grow that frequency so that it can be heard and seen in the right intention it was meant to be.
It's that simple.
I'm so excited. Everyone, I'm so blessed and so happy for everyone that gets to see this and be a part of this. That's so amazing. And see you next Saturday.
And I would like to also share that we do have a very beautiful side guest also, that it's literally the actual lodge builder. Nanette is live and kicking well. And would you like to come and share what this lodge actually was?
Wow.
Hello.
Hi. Fantastic
Tor.
to meet you.
Are you nice to meet you? Are you Tor?
I
You're
am Tor. Yes.
Tor. I have a friend here whose nephew is named Tor. They're Norwegian and they've moved to Canada a long time ago. So
like
now I know two Tors.
Yeah, wow, that's actually rare.
Yeah, my partner and I created this place. We hired a very good log builder to build it, and I coordinated things. He did a lot of the physical work. He's now died, and that's okay. That happens to all of us. Something we will all successfully do someday or another.
Yeah.
And my vision of this place was always a healing center. And his vision was someplace to keep his horses.
Yeah.
And so I feel this great connection that what I saw in the beginning is coming to fruition. And I'm very happy about that. So I'm excited to be a part of this. I don't know where my place is. Maybe I'll just come and go and say hello,
Yeah.
I travel a lot, so I'm not always around. And so it's nice to meet you. And
Right
maybe we'll
back at
speak
you.
again.
Oh, we will. You will probably
Yes.
visit the Norwegian center. Yeah.
You never know. I may come and knock on your door in Norway one day.
Exactly. It's part of the tribe. That's what tribe is
In
for.
the summer.
Family.
In the summer.
Yeah.
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 Awesome.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wow.
And that is where we want to share that sometimes our intentions don't always get to come forward until it's sometimes the right time.
Yeah.
And so like a bamboo shoot takes 5 years to grow its roots and then shoot up in less than 9 months to be the fullest 50 feet it can grow. So sometimes you just need your rooting to get ready for the big expansion.
And there we are. Wow. Thank you so much.
Blessings all.
This was a perfect, as always, perfect TTX Virtual. Thank you so much for sharing your energy, your space, your story was exactly what I was anticipating, mind-boggling, and I can't wait to hear more. So for everyone now who has not gone in and just started their adventure with that one, finding your legacy facilitator, going to that one little small tiny hidden link, the legacyforce.com/secret, you are missing out. You need to get in there, and we're going to share stuff like the behind the scenes things that we do. So weird and better and so much more expensive and hard to explain than this. And we are going to share so much in the coming days. So, and then forever. Bro, this is generational. This is not stopping with me or Cheanise or Braid, any of the thousands of millions of people coming into this whole thing. It's the beginning. It's the beginning. So with that said, I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks when we once again shoot for TTX Virtual, and who knows what's going to happen in the meantime, because we do things just because it feels good. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Do you have any parting words, Cheanise?
Trust the path.
That's a good freaking sentence. Trust the path. Wow. All right. With that, we are signing off.